Welcome back. 2025 has been a tough year globally, from inflation pressures to rising living costs. But here in Malaysia, the focus has been firmly on delivery. And under the Malaysia MADANI framework, the government expanded cash aid, targeted subsidies and community-based support, which reached millions of households nationwide. Well, to help us unpack how effective were these measures and what do the results really tell us, we're joined by Dr. MUJIBU. Doctor, welcome and thanks for being with us. It is the final day of 2025, and as we reflect on the year gone by, it is of course important to highlight that 2025 has been a tough year globally. However, Malaysia chose to double down on social protection. From your perspective, what does this say about how the government actually delivers under the Malaysia MADANI framework?
Jesse, for inviting me this afternoon. Yes, it is indeed 2025 really tested governments everywhere. Inflations, supply pressures, and global uncertainty made it very easy to delay reforms or retreat into short-term populism. What stands out about Malaysia in 2025 is that our government chose a different path. It doubles down on delivery, as you said before. Under the Malaysia Madani framework, social protection was treated not just as welfare, but as a core pillar to economic stability. We can see that the focus in our government shifted clearly from announcement to execution. We already saw on more emphasis, targeted assistance on digital delivery systems and measurable outcomes rather than broad untargeted spending. What this tells us is that Madani is evolving into a government framework that prioritizes states' capacity. It is about ensuring policies that actually reach household efficiency at scales and with minimal leakage. Politically speaking, we can simply see that our politics are still fragmented, but it is, for me, in Madani framework, our achievement can be considered as big. So in essence, for me, 2025 suggests that Madani is less about rhetoric and more about building trust through delivery, showing that our government can still function effectively even under uncharacteristic global and domestic pressure.
Well, what we saw this year as well were cash and basic needs aid that was raised to a record 13 billion ringgit through programs like Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah and Sumbangan Asas Rahmah. But in practical terms, how meaningful is this level of support for households that are dealing with the rising living costs, which becomes harder and harder to deal with every day?
Yeah, 13 billion is a very huge amount of money. It's a very significant figure, especially when we consider the context of rising food prices, utilities, and daily essentials. But the real question is not just the size of allocation. It is what this support actually does for the household on the ground. So in practical terms, programs like Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah or STR really help households manage short-term cost pressure, which is the cash assistance allows flexibility so family can prioritize for food, for transportations, schooling necessities or medical needs, depending on their circumstances. That flexibility matters during these inflationary periods. At the same time, the STR for me plays a complementary role by ensuring supports channels specifically toward essential goods. This prevents erosion of aid value and reduce the risk of misuse. I think we should be clear. This level of support does not replace income growth or structural reforms, but it performs a crucial stabilizing functions. It prevents vulnerability to the households from slipping further behind and help maintain basic consumption level. So for me, all those assistance, while it is not considered as a silver bullet, but it's still a meaningful and necessary buffer in a high-cost environment that we Malaysian experience for now.
Well, one standout figure is Sarah's 98% utilization rate for my card. I saw, rows and rows of people at many of these different grocers or purchasing outlets utilizing this particular program and the incentive provided. How does this show that targeted aid is finally reaching the right people and is being used exactly as intended?
Yes, for me, this is one of the strongest indicators that we have that targeted assistance is working as intended. According to the record, 98% utilization rate tell us several important things. First of all, it suggests that the targeting mechanism is accurate, where the right people are being identified. And second, it shows that beneficiaries are actually understand and trust the system enough to use it. And of course, last, it indicates a minimal administrative frictions that help the government to speed up everything in assisting and targeted the targeted and intended beneficiaries. So the use of my card is particularly important here. It reduces, of course, bureaucracy, help us limit duplication, and significantly lowers the risk of leakages and abuse. This is what, for me, modern social protection system supposed to look like. Focusing on digitalization, integrated and data-driven. And of course, more broadly, this signals a maturing welfare infrastructure in Malaysia. Instead of ad hoc aid or politically driven handouts, we are seeing more institutionalized delivery mechanism. So yes, for me personally, the SARA figures strongly suggest that Malaysia is moving closer to a targeted, efficient, and accountable social protection model that we are crying for so long time.
Okay, so fuel subsidies are always a sensitive issue. With the Budi Madani RON 95 approach, the government has expanded access while still generating billions in savings. Is this, you would say, a sign that subsidy reform can be both people first, but also then physically responsible?
Well, Jesse, traditionally, fuel subsidies are framed as a zero-sum choice, meaning either you protect people or you protect public finances. It cannot be done both. So what Budi Madani shows in 2025 is that this is a trade-off that is no longer absolute. So this is the bottom line that everybody must know what it's all about. So the RON 95 approach or the Budi 95 try to expand access to those who genuinely need support, while at the same time try to generate significant fiscal savings for the government. This tells us that the issue was never subsidy themselves, but how they were designed uh, in terms of dispersion. So by targeting beneficiaries more precisely, the government reduced leakages to higher income users and non-essential consumption. Those savings can be redirected into other programs, for example, healthcare, building more schools and expanding our education system, and of course, more social protections. What made this reform politically viable for me was a careful sequencing and communications from the government, because the government did not abruptly move subsidies, but the government redesigned them with fairness in mind. So for me personally, yes, Budi Madani demonstrates that subsidy reform that can be both people first and fiscal responsible, but still it is within the framework that it provides the policy design, which is need to emphasizing on inclusivity and transparency.
Speaking of which, 2025 wasn't only about handouts. There were also initiatives like Sejati Madani and Kampung Angkat, which focused on village infrastructure as well as income support. These kinds of interventions, do they create lasting impact beyond short-term relief?
Well, the initiatives that you mentioned, Sejati Madani and Kampung Angkat, for me are really important because they move beyond consumption supports and focus on productive capacity. Because unlike the STR or other cash transfers, The programs like Sejati Madani and Kampung Angkat really invest in village infrastructure, local enterprises, and income generating activities by encouraging what we call local wisdom. So this aims to strengthen local economies and reduce long-term dependency on assistance, which is what we need in what we call in long-term target of our economic structure. When designed and monitored properly for this program, this can provide us with intervention that really address the structural inequalities, particularly when we are talking about Malaysia, where our inequalities is different between the urban and the rural areas. So they also, for me personally, promote community ownership, which is critical for sustainability. And of course, for long-term impact, for me, these programs depends on governance. Because when talking about scaling up, outcome monitoring, and ensuring political neutrality will determine whether these programs can truly deliver lasting change.
Doctor, we want to
Personally,
thank you for your
conceptually,
time.
however, this
We've run out of time, so we want to thank you very much. Perhaps 30 seconds to summarize what you'd like to say.
Okay, for me, what Madani demonstrates in 2025 is that social protection is no longer just about helping the poorest. It is about protecting society as a whole from instability, inequality, and economic disruption. And these need to be carried forward in 2026, and of course can be well structured in our economic reform for the longer time.
Dr. Mujibu, we'll speak to you in the new year. He is wishing you a very happy new year, and thank you for weighing in on what Madani has done for the country this year.